He smiles when you walk in. He remembers your name. He asks about your life, your plans, maybe your kids. He makes you feel like you're not just an account number, like you're someone he genuinely cares about. And then he slides a product across the desk. An investment fund, a life insurance policy, a credit line you weren't looking for. And he says the words that make it all feel safe. I think this would be really good for you. In that moment, most people don't ask questions. They don't push back. They don't say, wait, let me think about this. Because the person in front of them feels trustworthy, official, familiar, like someone who knows their situation and wants what's best for them. But here's the question nobody asks in that moment, and the one that changes everything. Is he recommending this because it's right for you or because it's right for his numbers this month? Most people never find out. Not because the answer is hidden, but because they never knew what to look for. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what to look for. 3 specific signs that tell you in real time whether the person sitting across from you at that desk is working in your interest or working toward a sales target. And once you can read those signs, every conversation you ever have at a bank will feel completely different. Stay until the end, because the 3rd sign is the one most people miss entirely, and it's the one that tends to cost the most. Here's something that might reframe everything you think you know about your bank manager. He probably does like you. He probably is a decent person. He probably got into banking because he wanted to help people manage their money better, and none of that changes what I'm about to tell you. According to research involving interviews with more than 500 frontline staff at 6 of the largest banks in the UK, 81% of bank employees said they felt pressured to meet sales targets at the same or increased levels every single month. 2/3 of those in customer-facing roles said they were sometimes or always being pushed to sell more. And 4 in 10 admitted they knew a colleague who had intentionally missold a product just to hit a target. 4 in 10. This isn't a story about bad people. It's a story about a system that was built with a very specific logic. And that logic is not centered on you. The way retail banking works in most institutions around the world is this. The people who sit across from you are evaluated, compensated, and sometimes kept or let go based on what they sell. Not based on whether the products they recommended were right for you. Not based on whether your financial situation improved after the meeting. Based on numbers. Monthly numbers, products moved, accounts opened, policies signed. And when someone's income depends on what you sign, the advice they give you is no longer neutral. It can't be, not because they're dishonest, but because the structure they operate in makes true neutrality almost impossible. The Wells Fargo scandal is the most documented example of where this logic leads when left unchecked. Between 2009 and 2016, employees at one of the largest banks in the world opened approximately 3.5 million accounts in customers' names without their knowledge or consent. Not because thousands of employees woke up one day and decided to commit fraud, but because the pressure to meet sales targets became so intense that the line between selling and deceiving quietly disappeared. The bank was ultimately ordered to pay $3.7 billion in fines and redress, with more than 16 million consumer accounts affected. Wells Fargo is the extreme, but the pressure that created it is not unique to Wells Fargo. It exists in varying degrees in retail banking institutions across the world. And it exists in the branch where your manager works right now. So now let's get into how this actually plays out in a real conversation, because the conflict of interest we just talked about doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with a warning label. It shows up as something that looks and feels completely normal. And that's exactly what makes it so effective. The first thing to understand is why you're so naturally inclined to trust the person sitting across from you. It's not naivety, it's 2 very well-documented psychological responses working at the same time. The first is authority bias and the tendency to trust people and institutions that project credibility and expertise. A bank is an official institution. The manager has a title, a desk, a professional environment built to signal competence. Your brain reads all of that and quietly decides this person knows what they're talking about. The second is something researchers call the liking bias. We are significantly more likely to trust and follow the advice of people we like. And the manager who remembers your name, asks about your family, and makes you feel genuinely seen, you like him. And that liking bypasses the skepticism you'd naturally apply to a stranger recommending a financial product. Put those two things together, authority and liking, and you have a situation where your natural defenses are almost completely disarmed before the product recommendation even begins. Researchers Mulanathan, Noth, and Shore ran a mystery shopping study in which trained auditors visited financial advisors posing as ordinary customers. What they found was striking. Advice was systematically biased toward higher commission products, even when cheaper and more suitable alternatives existed. The advisors weren't necessarily aware of the bias. The incentive structure produced it automatically. That's the system. Now, here are the 3 signs that tell you when it's operating in your conversation. The first sign is a recommendation without questions. A manager who is genuinely working in your interest needs information before they can give you useful advice. They need to understand your income, your existing products, your short and long-term goals, your risk tolerance, your current debt situation. If someone moves quickly from greeting to recommendation without asking meaningful questions about your financial life, that's not a consultation. That's a pitch. The product was decided before you walked in. The second sign is artificial urgency. This rate is only available until the end of the month. We have a limited number of spots for this offer. If you don't lock this in today, I can't guarantee the same terms next week. You've heard these phrases before, possibly in a bank, possibly elsewhere, and now you know what they mean. They are not information about market conditions. They are a trigger designed to activate loss aversion, shut down careful thinking, and move you toward a signature before you've had time to evaluate what you're actually agreeing to. A genuinely good product doesn't need a countdown to sell itself. The third sign, and the one most people miss entirely, is the absence of alternatives. A manager working in your interest should, at some point in the conversation, acknowledge that other options exist, that there are products from other institutions worth comparing, that the right answer for your situation might not be the product their bank offers. When that acknowledgement is completely absent, when every conversation ends with a recommendation that happens to be from their own institution, matching their own product lineup in a way that seems almost too convenient, that absence is telling you something. It's telling you that the conversation was never a search for the best solution. It was a navigation toward a predetermined destination. Now, think about the last time you sat down with a bank manager. Did they ask meaningful questions before recommending something? Did urgency appear at any point? Did they ever mention that a competitor might offer something worth considering? If the answers are no and no, now you know exactly what kind of conversation that was. Here's the reframe I want you to carry with you after today. Your bank manager is not your enemy. In most cases, he genuinely wants to help you. He is a person doing a job inside a system that was not designed with your best interests as the primary variable. The system was designed to move products, to hit numbers, to generate revenue for the institution, and he lives inside that system every single day with his performance reviewed against it, his income tied to it, his job security dependent on it. That doesn't make him a bad person. It makes him a person with a conflict of interest that he may not even fully acknowledge to himself. And here's why that distinction matters so much. If you walk into a bank thinking the manager is dishonest, you become defensive, the conversation turns adversarial, you close off. But if you walk in understanding the structural reality that his incentives and your interests are not automatically aligned even when he's trying his best, you don't become hostile, you become precise. You start asking different questions. Not, should I trust this person? Because that's the wrong frame entirely. But what does this person's incentive structure look like right now? And how does that shape what they're telling me? And from that position, 3 simple questions change the entire dynamic of any conversation you ever have at a bank. First, what are the alternatives to this product, including from other institutions? Second, what does this product cost me in total, including all fees over the full term? Third, is there any reason this recommendation is particularly good for me specifically compared to other customers you see? These are not aggressive questions. They are not accusatory. They are the questions a financially literate person asks. And the answers, or the discomfort that comes instead of answers, will tell you everything you need to know about the conversation you're actually in. From this point forward, you will never walk into a bank branch the same way again, not with suspicion, with clarity. And clarity in a room designed to feel trustworthy is the most powerful thing you can bring. So remember this: the smile is real, the friendliness is real, and the conflict of interest is also real. All 3 of those things can be true at the same time, and understanding that is what separates someone who walks out of a bank with the right product from someone who walks out with the profitable one. The 3 signs are your compass now: a recommendation that came before the questions, urgency that appeared out of nowhere, and the complete absence of any alternative that wasn't sitting on their own product shelf. When you see those 3 things individually or together, you know exactly what kind of conversation you're in, and you know exactly what to do. Ask what alternatives exist. Ask what the total cost is over the full term. Ask why this product is specifically right for you. Not to be difficult, not to create conflict, but because those questions are the difference between being served and being sold to. The manager sitting across from you may be a genuinely good person working under genuinely difficult pressure. That's worth understanding. But your financial future doesn't get built on someone else's good intentions. It gets built on your ability to ask the right questions at the right moment and to know without hesitation what the answers are really telling you. You walked into this video not knowing what to look for. You're leaving it with 3 things that most people spend years and a lot of money figuring out on their own. If this opened your eyes, share it with someone who's about to walk into a bank branch, and subscribe, because this is exactly the kind of conversation we have every week.